Good morning, Concordia. Welcome to the Concordian radio show. With me today, we have Ian Down. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm Nicholas Giovanni. We got a hot one in Montreal today. It's going to hit at least 30 degrees, probably the last day of our heat wave that's lasted about 2 weeks. We're going to be returning back to normal fall weather after maybe a bit of a thunder shower tonight. Ian, how have you been coping with this heat?
I haven't been. I don't have air conditioning at my apartment.
So you just suffer in heat all day?
When my roommate's not around, I steal his fan. But aside from that, I don't know. I just have to put up with it, I guess.
Until you come to the CJ building, that's when there's incredible amount of air conditioning blasting all day. I mean, I'm sure you're not too comfortable with that, huh?
It's better than being outside in the heat and the humidity, I guess.
I don't know. Considering our classes are about 2.5 hours long, sitting there just in a t-shirt and shorts, blasting AC, to be honest, I'd rather be in the heat.
I don't know, man. Bring a sweater. Come prepared.
I do, but I don't want to bring a sweater.
Layers.
Layers, yeah. When it's this hot, I just want to just shorts and t-shirt, like how hot it is in this studio right now. But you're our assistant news editor here at the Concordian. We have issue 5 out this week. Out on newsstands, everybody go and read it. But you went to the Arts and Science Federation of Associations meeting last week, right? They passed a vote that could change the future election. So tell me about that.
Okay, so basically what they did was they moved to increase their security budget for their elections by $7,000. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, in March the MASSIVart elections were invalidated for a number of reasons, but among them was a lack of proper security at the voting stations. So at this recent meeting, the council moved to increase the security budget by $3,500 for each election, the election in March and then the by-election, which is in the fall. For those of you who are wondering why this was necessary, well, in the 2015-2016 year, ASFA decided to have more polling stations than normal, but as I understand from my conversations with the finance coordinator, the security budget wasn't updated to accommodate this new need for security, and so a lot of times ballot boxes were left unaccompanied with only one person, which violates ASFA's bylaws. The bylaws state that if a ballot box is left alone with one person, that it must be sealed, and that was not the case often, and also it was often not the case that the ballot box was accompanied by a security guard at the end of the day. So there were a number of security violations because of a lack of security.
So basically, during the elections, there were ballot boxes that were left unattended, and that's what made the election invalid, correct?
Well, to be clear, not unattended. Oftentimes there would be one person at the ballot box, but it would be left unsealed, and that, according to ASFA's bylaws, is illegal.
And was that one of the reasons why the election was deemed invalid, or were there other reasons?
That was the primary reason why it was deemed invalid, was a lack of security at the polls. Another issue was that the elections were extended by an extra day illegally. So that was another issue. The CEO at the time, he said that the reason this happened was because he wasn't trained properly on the rules of the election, and I tend to believe him. I think that there was no malicious intent with this. I think that he just wasn't clear on the regulations, and I think that's what caused this.
What does the invalid election mean for the current council members?
Well, it means that they're only serving in interim positions, which means that they will have to face re-election in November instead of by-elections.
So by-election is coming when?
By-election, that's coming November. Let me pull up the exact date.
November 20th to 23rd, correct?
Okay, you have it, yeah.
Yeah, I have it right in front of me. But that means that once this by-election happens, it's going to be permanent council members, or how does this work?
Well, once they face re-election, then they will retain their positions for the next half year until the elections in March.
Okay. So they have a new election, full election every year, but because of the invalidated election last March. They're having the by-election in November.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. Moving on, you also went to the TED Talk with Roméo Dallaire. How did that go?
It was a really interesting talk. So basically, just for a little bit of background, there was Concordia hosts an independent TED event called TEDx Concordia. The X stands for any TED event, technology, energy development, those conferences, which are hosted independently of TED itself. And they were lucky enough this year to get Roméo Dallaire to give the introductory speech. And he only spoke for about 15 minutes, as TED Talks are usually shorter. But it was really, from my point of view, more of an inspirational speech. He was trying to drive home to his mostly young audience the power that they have in terms of voting and in terms of their ability to coalesce and come together and really inspire change in the world. He touched actually briefly on the Canada 150 election. Canada 150 election. The Canada 150 celebrations. He criticized the Canadian government for not really establishing a clear vision for Canada's future, and he extrapolated from this that it's really up to young people to decide their own direction and their own future. And of course, he as a suggestion of a cause that could be pursued, he touched on a cause which has kind of been a lifelong pursuit of his, which is ending the use of child soldiers on the battlefield. I suppose for those who aren't familiar with Lieutenant General Roméo Dallaire, he played a key role in the United Nations assistance mission to Rwanda during the Rwandan genocide, and afterwards several years later, he wrote a 2004 memoir called "Shake Hands with the Devil," which was widely praised and became a national bestseller for its criticism of sort of the failure of the international response to the Rwandan genocide, and also his own personal struggles to cope with his experiences in it. And since then, he founded the Roméo Dallaire Child Soldiers Initiative, which works with governments, military, police around the world to promote strategies for dealing with child soldiers on the battlefield that are non-lethal and trying to reduce the use of child soldiers on the battlefield. So it's really been a lifelong cause of his, and that was something he really touched on. He really talked about how, we have to recognize, he said, your peers are often have their lives ruined by the decisions of adults. And he said that with today's modern communication technology, that young people really have the ability to mobilize and amass themselves for this cause.
What were some of the solutions he was suggesting to abolish child soldiers?
Well, like I said, he doesn't focus specifically on abolishment. Well, of course, abolishment is one part, but he also focuses a lot on what soldiers and governments should do when they encounter child soldiers on the battlefield, and he really promotes non-lethal strategies that soldiers can use to disable such a situation,
and also
non-violent means.
Make it unthinkable for the future. That's what he said, correct?
That's correct. That's what he said at the end of his speech, is he doesn't just want it to be eradicated, he wants it to be unthinkable.
What does he suggest we as young adults, young university students can do to change not only child soldiers, just any problem that occurs around the world?
Well, one of the things he said is one of the advantages we have over generations who came before us is we have this wonderful communication technology that's never existed before, and also we know how to use it. So he really emphasized the ability of us to amass ourselves through social media, through the internet, and to make our voices heard. But one of the things he said, just to highlight how much power we hold in this country, is he said if every young person in the country voted, we would actually hold the balance of power. And so that he used that just to illustrate just how much influence young people can have in the country.
It's interesting he brought that up, that if every young person voted, we would have power. And it's kind of a right time for him to say that after so much controversy in the United States. There wasn't a large participation in their last election. So, I mean, when I was reading your article, it kind of made me think why he would have said that. Overall, what was the biggest message you took from the Roméo Dallaire talk?
Well, the biggest message I just think was the influence that young people can have over the world, but that they're not currently having. And I think it was really less of an informative speech like some of them were, and more of an inspirational speech, more of a call to action, if that makes sense.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Ian Down, the assistant news editor. You're listening to the Concordian radio show. Welcome back to the Concordian radio show. I'm Nicholas Giovanni. With me is Sandra Hercegova. How are you, Sandra?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We have some news to share this morning. Big news in Montreal. A man was hit on Highway 20 around 3 a.m. in the morning, according to the CBC, on near 55th Avenue in Lachine. The news article says that he was walking along the highway and a car hit him. It was a hit-and-run situation, and right now all but one lane of the highway is closed, so have a safe drive in this morning. Don't take Highway 20. With us is Mia Anhoury. How are you, Mia?
I'm good. How are you?
You wrote a piece this week about a pop-up vintage shop, so tell us about that.
So essentially, Paulina, the woman who had organized the show, the pop-up shop, organized a place where people could sell their clothing and recycle clothing with a nice ambient vibe. There was music playing, cocktails were being served, nice juices, and it was a very nice, chill, laid-back, unknown, underground shop where people can just pop in. It wasn't advertised anywhere else but on Facebook, and they could just pop in if they were walking down Saint Laurent, the plateau, and they could just buy or recycle their clothing.
That's sick. And tell me about, do you usually go vintage pop-up shopping? Is that something, have you ever been thrift shopping before? Is that something you like or enjoy?
I've been to thrift stores before. I wouldn't say I'm an avid thrift shopper, but right after I went to that pop-up shop, I walked down the street and I saw a bunch, and it's a very for the past year or so, I want to say it's a very popular thing going on, recycling clothing, because sometimes most of that clothing is in very good condition, but just the person wants to get rid of it. It's not their style anymore.
Definitely.
Or they just need to make some money sometimes. So, it's a nice way to keep the planet green, I guess.
And tell us a bit about Psychic City, what it's all about, what that venue features, and what does she do there exactly, or some of her upcoming events even. Yeah.
Psychic City is an underground basement in the middle of the plateau. And they rent out that space actually, and they organize a bunch of events. So they have comedy shows, they have a showing of Hocus Pocus coming up in the next month for Halloween. They've had stand-up shows, concerts. Paulina's boyfriend actually used to practice there with his band in that space. And after the elections, it's funny, you were talking just about the United States elections. After the elections, her boyfriend, who's an American citizen, felt like he wanted to create a safe space for artists to come and be freely creative. And so during the week, that's what the space is used, that artists come on to sculpt, paint, write their music in this free environment.
That's beautiful that they do that here in Montreal. Such a creative city. We have so many different creatives doing so many things that we don't know about. So I thought it was great that you did write that piece, and I heard about it. It seemed popular, like people were interested in it, and just cool to go there to talk with people on the scene. And
a lot of people follow them on their Facebook page, and they'll message them to see where the location is, because it's not a public location.
Right.
And a lot of people also that I met there at the event, they just happened to walk by. They saw the sign, the handwritten sign on the door of that building.
It's very mysterious. You don't know where to go. You kind of have it's very underground.
You walk down the stairs, it's all dark, and there are those fairy lights hung up with a disco ball in the middle. Very very ambient, chill back mood. You don't know what you're getting yourself into
That's
at
it, right?
first.
Yeah.
It's not like shopping on Winners.
No.
It's a bit spooky, but in a cool way.
It's a bit spooky. Yeah, it's different than going to like Village des Valeurs and shopping there, because you're not getting the stuff that like families have thrown out. Like sometimes it can be so overwhelming shopping there, like Winners, you know?
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. Or even like those huge thrift shops that you have in the States, like Goodwill, or here, Village des Valeurs. Here you're actually taking a look at somebody's closet that they're like opening up for you. It's like you see what mood they were in that day, you see what, when they bought that piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different.
You did speak to one customer there. Tell me what she said about the store.
She said that she was just walking by, saw the sign, and walked down. I saw her come in, and then for a second she left, and then she came back in, and she had changed her entire, like, she was wearing those jeans, I think, when she walked in, but by the time I talked to her, she was in those pic-culotte pants that she had just bought at the at the pop-up shop, at the Good Vibes pop-up shop, and she was just... It's an economical way of shopping because you're not spending a lot of money, and oftentimes you'll find those brand name pieces that people know about. Like there was Ivy Park, there was a Toronto Raptors jersey
for the sports fans.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, even for sport fans, hey, you might find something that's over there. You had vintage denim placed in multiple like personal collections that they had, and she was very. It's kind of very exciting for her because she'll never know what she'll find. She can't look. It's a different way of shopping because you're not looking for something in specific. You're just looking, hoping to see something you like.
And yeah, it's interesting that you can go there and see different moods and the clothes that people left. And there's mostly, they did like some touches. They added things to it that wasn't there before. So that's what's really cool.
Yeah, the walls were very artistic, full of graffiti. Very nice, yeah.
Awesome.
Tell me how people could donate their used clothes to the store.
Well, they have to get into contact with Psychic City. So Paulina will probably be the one answering them. And they just, at the next pop-up prep, it happens once a month, usually on a Thursday. And it's probably going to be at the end of October next month. They can just get into contact with Psychic City through their Facebook page. Message her and say they want to sell their clothing. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to take them in and help them out with that.
Beautiful. That's great to know. So if anyone wants to donate to Psychic City, you can go on their Facebook page on called Psychic City, right? And then you can get in touch. And,
exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So thanks, Mia, for that. With us today, we have
Philippe Demers right now holding the line. Hello, Philippe Demers. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience and for calling in this morning. This is great to have you here on air. We wrote a piece for on the bed-in for people. I'm sorry, my mic, there was like a little technical problem. My bad for that. So, yes, we had for a gift piece for the bed-in in 1969, MASSIVart collaborated along with Sidley, Ivanhoe Cambridge, and the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. And Philippe Demers here is from MASSIVart. And first, before we dive into the event of last week, if you can just tell me a bit about yourself and a bit about what MASSIVart is all about for those who don't know.
Of course, yeah. So, I'm Philippe. I'm the founder of MASSIVart. So I started MASSIVart in 2009. And the objective back then was to connect artists with commercial opportunities and maybe like a different way of selling their art. But also just the idea of MASSIVart is to make sure the work of the artist are shown to many people and to different places than museums. So the idea is to multiply the opportunities that artists can encounter and make sure they do a good living out of it. So this was the objective in 2009 when we just started doing art parties, and now it's still the same objective, but we're working on bigger projects like the artwork collections of the Queen Elizabeth, and also the Suite 1742, where it was held, like you mentioned before, the Montreal Bed-in for Peace by Yoko Ono and John Lennon.
Beautiful. Yes, particularly for the International Day of Peace. For those who wasn't aware, it was last Thursday, and I wanted if you could tell me more about the event and more what MASSIVart, you yourself and your team did, because you guys worked so hard on this and did a lot. So if you could just tell us a bit about your roles and what did you bring in terms of art and creativity to this event.
Well, the idea was that, so we've been working on the Peace Project for about 2 years now, that is permanently integrated in the suite in the hotel where everything happened in 1969. So we've been diving in a lot of archives and Yoko Ono's and John Lennon's past, and we've learned so many great things out of this research. And we thought that it was really important that their message of peace in 1969 was still so relevant today. And we thought it was really important to make sure people actually get a sense of it and hear about this, especially right now in the context of Trump and North Korea and all like the racism that are I don't know, I feel like racism is getting like higher a little bit these days. So we felt like it was really important to share with the public and the largest number of people their message of peace and tolerance. But the thing is that the suite is a like super small place, and not a lot of people can get in the suite. You know, you have to rent the room or you have to attend to special events over there. So we wanted to we asked ourselves, how could we make sure like everyone in Montreal could be invited to a peaceful event? And that's when we thought of like recreating the bed-in right in front of the hotel for the International Peace Day. So the idea was, we had that idea this summer. So in August, we launched a contest called for submission called Poster for Peace. The idea was to invite all the creatives to submit their idea of a poster for peace, because that's something John Lennon and Yoko Ono would do a lot. They would draw on huge papers in their room. They would write words about peace or just like doodle about peace. So we wanted to invite the artists and the creators to do the same. So we've received about 400 different posters from China, Toronto, Canada, of course, United States, Europe. So we didn't expect such a like large array of creatives to actually participate to our call. So we were really happy with that, and it was really tough to actually pick only 40 posters. And what we did with the finalists was that once we had all of those like nice posters, we were kind of wondering how we could best exhibit them. So we thought we would print their posters on bed sheets and like put 40 beds on a public place so people could lie under the posters and also have them exhibited in the same place. So that's what happened. And then we invited all the Montrealers to just come and lay down for peace, and we programmed Martin Izot at the piano, which came and played piano. It was such a great ambience. So people
definitely was. It was genius. The 40 bed ideas and the posters were just so. It's beautiful when you call and you ask people to send their submissions when it comes to peace, and there's so many people who want to get involved. And being there, seeing how many people, I feel like they just ran out of their office and just came to lie on the bed and enjoy the moment. It was such a great idea and very pleasant experience.
Oh, yeah, and the result of that, I was so impressed by all the creativity of the people regarding the piece.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many different approach, and some were hilarious. So if people at home you want to have a look at the poster, they're available online at posterforpeace.love.
Beautiful.
Postersforpeace.love. And yeah, the 40 posters selected some of them are hilarious, some of them are really pretty. So I was really impressed by that, and I don't know. I feel like it was a very full yet very pleasant moment downtown, and the weather also was really on our side. And we hope that this inspires people to think about how they also can be activists for peace. So sometimes we think it's something of the 60s, like really hippie, to be like out there and shouting out for peace. But actually our world now in 2017 also need peace activists and also need people to start thinking about peace and writing about peace and inspiring peace. So we hope that this event and this all of the posters will help people to also feel like they should get involved somehow and actually do something.
Can you tell us, about those posters? Which one was your favorite one? Because I had a hard time picking my favorite. I know that. Did you have one in particular that you preferred?
Oh, well,
It's hard to
so
say.
there's one. So there was a contest. Like the winner, we put out a jury in place. So there was people from all over, but like and really random places. Like Airbnb, the guy from Airbnb was on the jury. Some people from some designers. But the guy that won the poster is Jonathan Lavoie, and he did a peace sign, like how you could do with your two fingers, like a peace sign, with a mix of a white hand and a black hand, and it's just really simple and striking. So this would be one of my favorite, but it also won the contest. So
I love that one. Yeah,
but
that
then
was.
the other one that I really liked is it's actually a guy that designed this poster in 1986, and so it's been super long time ago. But he resent it now, and it's just like simple lines that illustrate birds that are from different colors. And I don't know, I like the vintage style of the poster a lot. So yeah, if you check them out, really, it's worth it online. They're all pretty. Which one was your favorite?
Actually, I loved, you mentioned it, but I loved the one with the two hands. That one really stood out. There was another one, I think it was like, I'm not sure if it was a black woman, a black man and a black woman together as a couple, together, just like hugging each other. I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those two are just like...
fashion aesthetics.
It was just beautiful. I loved the fact that there was a mix of graphic design and photography. And overall, just such a great event. So much work you guys put into this. I hope there will be maybe even more in the future, like peaceful events like this. I think.
Well, yeah, we think that. So this was our first edition, but the event went so well that I think we all want to do it again next year for sure. So yeah, maybe who knows? Next September 21st for the International Peace Day, there will be another bid in Montreal.
I really hope so. Can I ask you one last question?
For sure.
What is your favorite John Lennon song or the Beatles song? Because we would like to play it for you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'd like to say, so the one that was recorded in the suite is Give Peace a Chance. But I've been listening to Give Peace a Chance, I think like 500 in the last year. So I'd say Imagine.
Imagine?
Yeah, Imagine is such a wonderful song as well, and also invites for a peaceful reflection. So I think that I'd go for this one.
Beautiful. So we're gonna play this
it.
for you right now, so that you can immerse yourself in a peaceful and beautiful day. And we're very thankful to have you on the line here with us and for giving us, to talk to us about this event. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. And we hope to see it again, more events from MASSIVart. And if people are interested, they can look at about what MASSIVart is all about. And thank you so much, Philippe Demers.
Thank you. Peace, everyone.
Peace. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. That was Philippe Demers of MASSIVart. And you're listening to the Concordian radio show on CGLO 1690.
Imagine there's no heaven. Gamble their lives and futures on drugs.
This is CJLO.
Thank you for listening.
Welcome back to the Concordian radio show with managing editor Alex Cole, assistant sports editor Matthew Coit, and staff writer Mia Anhoury. I am Nicholas Giovanni. So in this week's editorial, we talked about the changes to the journalism program. So we're all journalism students. Matt, Mia, and myself were second years, and Alex, you're a third year.
Right.
So there was a change in 2016 before we came in.
Yep.
That basically, in your year, you're allowed to choose between textual and audiovisual.
So we were the last year of how the program had been for about, I guess, 5 to 10 years. It had been the same way, and then you guys are kind of the guinea pigs for the new program. So basically, the way it used to work was you'd come into the program and you had to take 2-year-long classes. You took audiovisual and
textual. And so for the intro to textual class, the teacher would split it up how they wanted, but usually the first semester and the second semester would each be worth 50% of your grade, and it was worth 6 credits total. So in intro to textual, the first half you'd do news writing, very basic, and then in the winter it would be more feature writing and profiles. In audiovisual, the first semester would be radio, and the second semester would be video. So it would give you about 3 to 4 months of training in each one, and then after the year, the program would ask you, okay, do you want to go into a major in textual, a major in audiovisual, a specialization in textual, a specialization in audiovisual, or a specialization multi-platform?
That changed
right
with our year. That it's more general and broad. We don't have that choice.
Right.
So we had to do in our first semester, we had to do radio, photo, and visual in one semester, in the first semester, and then we're doing more general classes. And we don't really have that choice. But I don't know, what do you see wrong with that?
Well, I think that you get a lack of training basically because for us, in the first semester, we got to do a radio show. We got to do a 15-minute radio show at the end of the semester. That was our final project. And that is pretty much what you do in radio newsroom. So it was very good training for the second year. For video, we got to do a 20-minute TV show. And, in your third year and your second year, in your second and third year, you're learning how to do package reports. You're learning how to put a pack together. And you can't really learn how to put a pack together, in 4 weeks, especially when you have a different teacher for each kind of, subject. And I think that, I don't know about Mia and you, like Mia, Matt, and you, Nick, but I don't know how the radio newsroom classes are going to go next semester because a lot of the second years are taking it next semester. I don't know how it's going to go in terms of you guys, obviously are talented journalists, but how is it going to work when you've only gotten 4 weeks of radio training in your first semester, and now you're expected to put a 1.5-minute package report together, interview 2 people at 8 o'clock in the morning within 2 hours? Because it's a very fast-paced environment, and if you haven't gotten that training in a previous class or at least gotten a taste of it, you have no expectation. And I feel like they're really setting up everyone for failure in their second year by not really allocating the proper resources.
Well, like I said in our editorial meeting, I said that because we were the first year that experiences changed, we can't really conclude anything until probably 2-3 years after we graduated. Yeah. Matt, Mia, just give me your thoughts on if you think this change benefits us.
Well, I think you Alex said it best. It's not enough time to kind of get the experience needed. 4 or 5 weeks on a subject, radio, TV, photography. You kind of missed out on some of the basic elements, some of the basic technological elements of each one, and you sacrifice it for speed and for convenience almost. That being said, all the teachers we had were fairly good, but it's just not enough time to get the proper training.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree that 3-4 weeks is not enough time. What I understood from the editorial and from the changes that the department decided to make with the 2016 year, graduates of 2019, is that they wanted, journalism is a profession that's constantly changing, right? So they wanted to kind of change with it because it is changing. Now journalists are not only required to just do audio visual or just writing. They're required to write a blog post, put it up on the blog, film a video at the same time, edit their own material, and do the interviews all on their own, right? So I do believe they were trying to kind of go in that direction to help us kind of be multi-platform, multimedia journalists, because it is what companies are looking for nowadays. But at the same time, we're learning so much information and so many different media that we kind of get lost in it. I mean, first year it was we got a taste of everything. I feel like hopefully in the next year and a half I'm personally taking radio newsroom next semester too. Hopefully with that we'll kind of get the training that we do need for our future jobs.
Yeah, I think that even in my year, even for my year, the most of your learning and most of your career building happens in the second year. especially with like radio newsroom and classes like advanced TV journalism. You learn how to do things quicker, and you learn how to do things more professionally, and that's really the time that you learn everything. So, but the first year should still be a building block, and I feel like they've taken that away.
I think at the end of the day, no matter what we study, we'll always have to commit ourselves with experience. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're writing for the Concordian. So at the end of the day, I don't think a bad education will bring us down. I'm not calling the program bad, but at the end of the day, we have to commit ourselves. You're listening to the Concordian radio show. We're going to be heading to break. On the other side, we're talking sports with Matthew Coit.
Listeners, we are going back to Big Shiny.
To the Concordian radio show with Alex Cole and Matthew Coit. And, me and Anhoury still here talking about sports, unless she wants to drop in a few...
I'll just listen in.
She'll just listen in. So this week's cover story was sports, so we got the front page. I wrote a story on Frédéric Rajot and Alex Tessier, and members of the rugby team, how they went to the Women's Rugby World Cup for Canada. But that's not what we're going to be talking about. There's some big stories in the world of sports, or at least Concordia sports. On Sunday, the Concordia Stingers football team was playing against the Laval Rouge et Or, and quarterback Trenton Miller got knocked out of the game after a hit in the third quarter. It's been drawing a lot of controversy regarding hits to the head. Head coach Mickey Donovan called an emergency meeting with RSEC and league officials to protect their players, because I heard that right now hits to the head are only called if there's an intent to injure. Compared to the NCAA, if there's any hit to the head, no matter what weight, what shape or form, it's going to be flagged down. And I think that's what the Stingers are trying to pursue the league to do. Yesterday, Trenton posted a video on his Facebook saying that he doesn't want his parents don't need to watch him get hit like that, and the league needs to protect them. Wide receiver James Terrell also got a hit to the head in the fourth quarter. So that's big controversy. I mean, give me your thoughts about that, Alex and Matt.
Well, I mean, first of all, the whole intent to injure thing, I think, is absolute crap that the RSEC said that. Considering that...
But it wasn't the RSEC that said that.
But considering in the interview after the game, when the player was interviewed, he said that when he saw Trenton running like that, he knew that he needed to take a shot at a guy like that, and that 10 out of 10 times, he's going to do that same hit to a player of Trenton's caliber. So there obviously was intent to injure. They had every opportunity after the game to suspend him for saying something stupid like that. But obviously, the Laval Rouge et Or are the golden boys of the RSEQ and U Sports, so they're not going to do anything. And I'm not trying to say a hot take here, but UTM and Laval have been the two teams selling U Sports football for the last 5 years. It's the only reason why the league's still relevant. So they're gonna protect them. Sorry, but that's just the way it is.
There's Alex's rant of the week. After you became managing editor, you lost your rant column in the paper, so that's it. I mean, let's have more of a level-headed response from Matt.
I don't know if I can match that amount of fire, but when I watched the video, I hadn't caught the game live, but seeing the replays, it's tough when you don't have all the angles like you do in NFL or CFL, but the way I saw it, the way that it seemed to be, it looked like a hit to the head.
Yeah.
Like, the way his head snaps back, that doesn't happen when you get hit in the shoulder.
People were trying to say that was a clean hit, but it was clearly helmet to helmet, like... His head snapped back.
It looked like a cartoon.
Terrible.
It's like when Wile E. Coyote gets hit by Roadrunner. Like the head spins around the neck. I've seen hits like that before. I've had hits like that happen to me. Like you mentioned this to me last night when we were talking about it over Facebook. I had no idea that the rules in RSEC were that you can only flag it if it's intent to injure. And the comments after the game made it clear that maybe he didn't mean to knock him out of the game, but he definitely meant to lay a punishing hit.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of saved Laval the game, because Laval was not playing a good game by any stretch. The Stingers' defense was very, very good, because, usually when the Concordia Stingers play Laval Rouge et Or, it's a blowout. It was only 12-8. It was 12-5 at the time they hit. The Stingers were driving down the field. It looked like they had a very good opportunity for a touchdown. That would have tied the game, and Laval couldn't generate any offense after that, and the Stingers were pressing. The backup quarterback, Adam Vance, he's not up he's a first year. He's not, as talented as Trenton is right now. He doesn't have those tools right now. So, obviously he couldn't, finish it off for them. But the Stingers, realistically, they could have easily won that game, and that hit pretty much changed the whole game. It's kind of what saved Laval from being upset.
It's pretty ridiculous to say, but that really is what saved Laval. But regarding the whole intent to injure, I think it's terrible too. I mean, this is university football. They are not getting paid. At the end of the day, most of them aren't going to go into the CFL or NFL. They're just going to go on with their education, live a normal life, and you can't have these young guys get hit to the head like that. I mean, I just don't understand how basically every other football league, right down to the NCAA, is protecting its players like that, and the RSEC is turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
I understand it is a different situation because most of the games aren't broadcasted. They aren't televised, so when there are hits to the head, you can't go back and look it over and suspend a player. In this case, there was, and the RSEC had plenty of opportunity to look it over.
But there's no one to hold the RSEQ and U Sports accountable, because the thing is that it's just like they're for schools, and the Stingers have been guilty of this, and the only reason why we know that Trenton probably has a concussion, that he got injured, is because it was televised. If this game was not televised, we would not know why Trenton was injured, except for the fact that he did post the Facebook video. But without the game being televised, without the Facebook video, the Stingers would not tell us that Trenton Miller got a concussion in the game against Laval.
Well, they're still not saying he has a concussion. Yeah, let's not jump to conclusions here. The Stingers haven't said anything. Nobody has really said anything.
That's the problem. No one's transparent.
No, but it's a medical issue. You can't be transparent on that. It's
right. But
even at the NHL level, do they ever say that the player has a concussion? Does a team?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do all the time because they have to.
Okay.
There's a concussion protocol.
There's a concussion. Okay. But there is no. Is there one like that in the RSEC? I mean, Matt, you wrote a concussion article for us a few weeks ago.
They do the on-field scat tests, which I've had that done to me after I've been hit. You can lie about that pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that a lot of doctors let it go, but as an athlete, if you want to get back on the field after taking a hit like that, most time you can. I think because it was televised, it's a little more difficult to pull off that move, but it seems that the Concordia Stingers football team is really frustrating when you have two hits like that in a game, and both, I believe, went unpenalized.
Unpenalized.
And also when
it changed the momentum of the game.
When you're when you're trying to, because already the Stingers have a tough division, and it's not every day that you get an opportunity like that to beat Laval or beat a team like UDM or Laval.
Laval too.
At Laval too. So and plus it's Trenton Miller. It's his last season with the Stingers. Obviously, he wants to have a great season. He wants to help lead that team into the playoffs. And now, potentially, you've lost your best player for the rest of the season because of a boneheaded play by
Laval. Let's not jump to conclusions. I mean, Matt, you were at practice yesterday. Tell me what you saw regarding Trenton.
I didn't talk to anybody, so I won't pretend this is hard facts. But I was walking by, and from what it looked like Trenton wasn't practicing. It looked like he was, he was carrying a clipboard around. So that's what I saw. You can draw your conclusions from that, but.
Okay, so he didn't practice yesterday. Considering he's been posting to Facebook, I mean, again, we can't draw to conclusions. I believe that when you do have a concussion, that doctors do say you should wait a week. We don't know if he has a concussion or not. Mm-hmm. They played on Sunday, and their next game against the Sherbrooke Vera-Or is on Saturday.
They're lucky they play Sherbrooke.
They're lucky they play Sherbrooke.
Because that's a good team to, test out.
Adam Vance.
It's a good, even if they decide to put in Colin Sequeira, it's a good opportunity for both of those quarterbacks. Colin Sequeira did actually lead the team to victory in a preseason game against Laurier, who won the OUA last year. So, I mean, Colin Sequeira, he's a capable quarterback.
He's a fifth year. He knows the ins and outs.
But I would put him in because it's against Sherbrooke, and Sherbrooke's not doing that well this season, but with only one team not being able to make the playoffs, it's a must-win game just for momentum's sake. So I would put Colin and not Adam Vance. Just, you have to win that game. It's not, you do have to. It is a time for experimentation, but at the same time, don't do too much experimentation to the point where it's going to hurt the team.
Oh, I mean, Sherbrooke, they're 0-4. Why not give Adam Vance the chance to play? Because he will likely be the starting quarterback next year. Anyways, sticking with football, the NFL, huge storylines.
Sorry, can we go back to this week? Even with the loss, the Stingers are now in the U Sports top 10.
Yeah, they're ranked number 8.
Yeah, at 2-2.
Huge. I mean, Alex, you know when the last time that happened? They were ranked in the top 10 football team.
I believe last year they were in the top 10 for 1 week. Yeah. They were number 10 for 1 week, and then
that sounds right.
As soon as they lost 59-3 to UDM, it was over. It was over.
USOR's like, no,
get
never mind.
Get him
out of here. Okay, we got 2 minutes, but last 2 minutes. NFL, players protesting by kneeling, locking arms during the national anthem. Give me your thoughts on that, Matt. I mean, we've talked about that a lot.
We've talked about it a lot. There's a lot of, whatever I say has been said a million times before and will be yelled at by a million other people. There's not really... It's a really touchy subject, and it's tough for players and it's tough for everybody involved. And, by the end of the season, I think we'll have a better grasp of of the consequences and the actions and everything.
I mean, on the Monday nighter in Arizona between the Arizona Cardinals and Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys locked arms and took a knee at the numbers before the national anthem played, including owner Jerry Jones. And, well, he was there. He was there.
But I'm going to be a skeptic for 1 second, and I'm going to say that Jerry Jones, he's a big opportunist. He likes to market his team, and that was the fact that he knelt and looked directly at the camera with this smug sense of satisfaction on his face. That was pretty look at me, look at this nice old white man. Look at what I'm doing right now. I'm such a good person. Look at me. It was such a ploy for attention. Let the players do what they want. Don't make it about yourself and marketing your team. If the players want to protest, let them protest on their own. Don't make it about yourself.
Well, what I was trying to get to, besides the Jerry Jones, is that even though it was before the anthem, the fans were booing, which baffled me. And the Arizona Cardinals, they locked arms too.
They don't even know what they're booing. That's
exactly. That's exactly what I was getting to. They don't know what they're booing about. I think at this point, seeing that they booed before an anthem and then both teams stood during the national anthem, I don't know if they still booed then. Obviously not. I mean, it's the anthem, but it's just getting out of hand. I mean, I hope the league issues. I don't know if they have issued a statement regarding it, but
I mean,
hope it resolves itself soon.
I mean, Nick Wright for Fox Sports. I mean, he had a great point. Is that